celebrating the second greatest baseball movie ever made. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Oh, pretty good.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 1 second past 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. We welcome you back to a Tuesday edition of the Afternoon Aardvark. My name is Dan Barreiro. I am the host of the program, also known as the A-Hole in the Afternoon, affectionately, I'm sure. Guardsy is the two-time state high school tennis champion, producer of the show, and known as the tasteless Vox of mashed potatoes. That's the most updated form of your various nicknames. Is that correct?
According to the Common Man program, yes. Which is nice. I'll take it.
Interesting.
Got to reinvent yourself.
Very, very interesting. We are delighted you are along for today's ride. It could get bumpy today. There might be some turbulence between now and 6:30 this evening. We are going the distance today. That is confirmed?
Yes.
3 until 6:30. We got Minnesota Wild hockey later on the Fan.
Against the Kraken.
The hated Seattle Kraken.
Yep, Grand Casino Arena.
That's it. One of your favorite nicknames, I know. You are a big Kraken guy.
It's different.
It is different.
I like it. They've got a good pregame ceremony, too.
Do I know what it means? Do you know what it means?
Kraken, it's like the mythical sea monster.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's it.
Because there's a lot of water in Seattle.
Is that right?
A lot of water, yeah. So what's in the water, nobody knows, except maybe the Kraken.
Had absolutely no idea. We'll give you details on the uglydeck.com guest lineup in just a minute or two. First guest scheduled for 4:02. Second guest scheduled for 5:30, although things are always fluid here on the bumper-to-bumper Afternoon Aardvark program. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line rebooted, and it is available to you at 64686. That's 64686. 50 years ago today, the motion picture I call the second greatest baseball movie ever made was released on this date 50 years ago. So that would be, if I'm doing my math right, 1976.
Yeah.
What's the date? Is today the April 8th? 7th?
The 7th.
April 7th, 1976, the second greatest baseball movie ever made came out. And by the way, among the interesting things about the film, it was a massive surprise box office hit. I think it grossed, and for the time, this was big money. Obviously, we're in days of inflation. I think it grossed over like $42 million, cost almost nothing to make, and it became one of the top grossing motion pictures of that year, 1976, ranking 10th or 11th overall for the year as well. Now, for the record, in my own humble opinion, my favorite, I won't call it my favorite. I'd say the greatest baseball movie ever made is The Natural. I'm on record on that. I know it's a very subjective opinion, and that's all this is. These are a series of opinions, for sure. I put The Natural, a very polarizing film because it was so different from the book upon which it was based, but I put The Natural number one. But number two on my baseball list, and there are days I'm tempted to make it number one, is a motion picture called The Bad News Bears. 50 years ago today, that film, the original Bad News Bears came out. It centers, for the kids, if they don't know it, around a hard-drinking ex-baseball pitcher named Morris Buttermaker. Played impeccably, beautifully, by the late, great Walter Matthau. And he gets bribed, basically, to become a coach for inept, hopeless Little League baseball team known as the Bears. The cast, in addition to Matthau, you say tomato, I say tomato. Tatum O'Neal, Vic Morrow. Vic Morrow, by the way, died horribly Well, another motion picture was being made in the making of a motion picture. I think we've talked about that before.
Twilight Zone.
That's it.
Yep.
It was a helicopter scene, as I recall.
It was.
Joyce Van Patten, Ben Piazza, and many, many others. What makes the Bad News Bears worthy of this kind of celebration 50 years later, at least on this program? Well, first of all, you have to see it. The beauty of Bad News Bears, and you kind of have to be a cynic, I think, to enjoy it, is that it turns so many sports movie conventions on their ears. Just comes at it about as, at least through much of the film, as unsentimental, and you could argue real, as a sports movie can indeed be. It lays it all out there in ways that I don't think had ever been done before. Most sports movies were played pretty straight. There were a couple of exceptions afterwards, maybe inspired by this film. Before them, most of them were played pretty straight and pretty sentimentally. And here it goes a completely different way. I mean, start with the obvious. You have a coach who has a cooler in the dugout filled with beer. Not something that ordinarily would be endorsed even in 1976. You'd be, of course, canceled for doing something like that in the year 2026, correct?
That's a safe sport violation.
Yes.
You have to fill out your safe sport certification. That would be a safe sport violation, I think.
Yes. I think you're probably really right about that. And if you want to compare it to a more recent film, even though I think this one's better, it's got a little Bad Santa in it. In that, Bad Santa is about as over the line, over the top, politically incorrect, a vicious, unsentimental a film through much of it as one can imagine, but ultimately becomes what? Kind of sentimental. The curmudgeonly, crotchety guy ends up being overcome with sentiment. That becomes part of the beauty of the story. Same takes place, well before Bad Santa, in Bad News Bears. Because it's clear early that Walter Matthau that Buttermaker, it's a paycheck. I'll put these players through their paces. I'll sit in the dugout and we'll get our asses kicked. In fact, I think in their first game, they gave up 26 runs without recording an out. That's bad. 26 runs without even getting retiring a single batter on the other team. And they're all misfits, all different shapes, sizes, races, the whole bit. It's just they're a complete walking disaster. But somewhere along the line, Buttermaker says to himself, how about we make this more interesting, for me at least, and maybe for the players? I'm going to go out and add a couple of ringers. So he goes out to add a couple of players, one of them a male, a teenage kid who's a hoodlum, a delinquent. He's got all kinds of issues, but he can play. And then he also goes out and finds a girl pitcher, Amanda Wurlitzer, the 11-year-old daughter of Buttermaker's former girlfriend, who's got a fastball like you've never seen before. And he adds them to the mix. And slowly but surely, he actually starts working on drills with the rest of them, these misfits. They start paying attention to the fundamentals. And little by little by little, they end up surprising the surprise. I think the name of the team is the Chico's Bail Bonds. I think that was the sponsor, Chico's Bail Bonds, which is perfect for the story. And they end up shocking the Little League world. Now, I'm not going to give away the ending because I don't want to spoil it. Because there is, I think, a method to the ending, a message to the ending as well. But part of the delight of the film is watching all the quote-unquote proper Little League types, the authoritarian Little League types, losing their minds over the way this team, little by little, ends up insinuating itself into the conversation to win the Little League title. They're
disruptors.
They're disruptors, and the level of aggravation, the aggravation on the faces of the more traditional baseball coach and parents, etc. The level of being horrified by some of the things that the players, these kids, do or say, absolutely a classic motion picture. And I put it second, as I said, because it's so unconventional. And I know there have been other unconventional baseball movies, but guess what? They all came later. This started the genre. And I also think what makes it relatable is the Little League part, right? It's not a Major League Baseball story. It's a everybody can relate to Little League, right? You either played Little League or you got friends who are in Little League. Everybody, because everybody's in Little League, right? It's supposed to be more democratic, at least to a point. So I celebrate the 50-year, anniversary. Like I said, came out 50 years ago today and did very, very well, extremely well in the theaters. There's aspects of this film, like I said, I'm not even sure it would be made the same way. No. And it did get remade.
Yeah.
Did it not?
Yeah, I don't remember when, but
I don't know if I saw it. And then there were a couple sequels with some of the same people, and it was, I think, wasn't there the Bad News Bears go to Japan? I don't think I ever saw it.
I didn't see that one.
And there may have been one other sequel as well, and then I think it got remade. But this film, I'm telling you, and I haven't seen it in a while. The old question of would it hold up? But for the sub-themes involved in it, I think it might. And it all, let's face it, you have to have somebody as authoritative. When I say authoritative, I mean as genuine in his curmudgeonliness.
That's the word.
As Walter Matthau. I mean, that's it. Literally, the casting there might have been what made the movie. It might not have been my second favorite baseball movie of all time without somebody that brilliant. Whoever made that choice, whoever made that decision, the director, the producer, whoever it was. I hope they demanded it's Walter Matthau or nobody, because this role was made. Walter Matthau was born to play this role.
And really played that role continuously for the 30-ish, 25 years, the rest of his life. Whether it was Grumpy Old Men, or there was another movie he was in with Jack Lemmon where he was a curmudgeon. Like, that was just, it's kind of like Larry David always plays Larry David.
Correct.
Right? It's just his personality. It's who he is. It feels like it's just the roles he was born to play were these curmudgeonly ones.
Yeah, there's no question.
And I don't know if it started with Bad News Bears, but it's obviously one of the most famous ones.
There's no question about that as well. So Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 64686. A couple people are saying, look, you can spoil an ending of a film that's 50 years old. You'd be surprised what pushback we get.
Yeah, we don't want that
gone down this
today.
road before. And I don't even know that it's necessary. I think it's actually better if it's left a little bit on the open-ended side as well. I mentioned an outstanding guest lineup. Let's get our first break in now. We'll set up the rest of the program, which will be a combo platter show today. Definitely toy department stuff, some pop culture stuff, and most assuredly A-section stuff as well. Stay tuned. Coming into the Bradshaw Brian KFAN text line, including this one. Billy Bob Thornton was the coach in the remake. Also, obviously, the main star in Bad Santa, which we compared to Bad News Bears, which might explain the parallels between the two movies. Remake was made in 2005 and is actually decent. Follows the same storyline. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I'll take that individual's word for it. Are we sure Bad News Bears isn't Dan's second favorite baseball movie because they only had hot dogs and popcorn at the concession stand? Wouldn't want too many options at a ball game. That's a throwback to a subject I explored on Sunday Sermons, a very controversial edition of the program, in which I asked, I know it's, we're never going back. The genie is definitely out of the bottle on this. But I asked why we needed to go to a ball game, every form of exotic food now. What is it that's changed about us when once upon a time it was enough to go to the concession stand, get a dog, maybe get some Cracker Jacks, get a beer, get a Diet Coke, occasionally a burger, maybe a kielbasa. That was it. And now, every year, what do we have to do? We have to introduce 18,000 new foods.
Yep.
We buy off the local media.
Lori Fisher sends multiple cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's the callback there. I don't want to go too deep into that. 574 guy writes. 574 guy writes. The movie holds up. I coached Little League and travel teams involving my 3 sons for 16 years. It became ritual to kick each season off with a Bad News Bears screening. For the record, 2 sequels. The Bad News Bears in Breaking Training. That was in 1977. And the Bad News Bears Go to Japan in 78. There was a short-lived CBS TV series.
That's right. There has to be.
In 79 to 1980 as well. I mentioned the late, great Vic Morrow, who was brilliant in the film. He plays the role of Roy Turner, the coach of the hated Yankees, the buttoned-up team with the star players, the team that is made to win championships. And I will say that another brilliant aspect of this film is that it predicted in 1976, it predicted exactly what we have parents texting us or coaches and managers texting us almost every day when this particular subject comes up. It predicted the insanity of, at the Little League level certainly, some coaches and managers being so over the top, pretending they are a major league managers, that they end up facing rebellion from their own players on occasion. They're so over the top in their discipline and in their lecturing. And so one of the subplots is Vic Morrow's kid, the character's Roy Turner. So Coach Turner's kid is a very good pitcher for his team. And one of the subplots of the film is he gets so sick of the browbeating from his own dad that he starts intentionally walking hitters against the Bad News Bears, right? Which is part of the reason the Bears are able to come back in the so-called championship game as well. That the kid is pleading in a sense. It's his form of protest.
Right.
Get off me, man.
He just wants his childhood.
I want to live for a couple minutes. You're not the manager of the New York Yankees. You're the manager of the local Little League Yankees team. And we've been talking about that issue for decades upon decades ever since, correct?
We have. I like that 50 years later, you can use the Bad News Bears as a reference, and everybody knows what it means. That you can say, we're playing the Bad News Bears. They played like the Bad News Bears. I also like that the template for the movie has been, obviously it's been duplicated because they made a remake and they've made sequels, but it follows the Mighty Ducks follows that track.
That's true.
Emilio Estevez, Gordon Bombay gets in trouble drinking and driving. What's he have to do? He's got to coach a ragtag bunch of kids against the hated Hawks from District 5, the Cake Eaters. And Adam Banks is part of that team. Then guess what? Redistricting. Adam Banks has to come over to their team. How does the movie end? Spoiler alert. Not going to tell you. What's another one? Kicking and Screaming. Will Ferrell, Mike Ditka.
That's true.
Will Ferrell's got to coach a ragtag bunch, and he learns life lessons along the way. It's a good template. I don't know if it was done before the Bad News Bears. You could tell me maybe if there were some before that, but it's
I don't think there were.
It's a good template that's been recreated in multiple sports.
I believe it started that genre. I mean, I really do. What's the politically incorrect hockey film that the state of hockey loves, starring Paul Newman?
Yeah. This is where I'm turning into you.
You are turning into me. I'm sorry.
Slapshot.
Slapshot.
Yep.
Slapshot came after, did it not? Double check the year of Slapshot. But I would say, and that was about obviously it wasn't Little League, right?
Came the next year, 77.
Okay, but I think it's in that same irreverent genre of we're going to turn all these conventions on their head. And it's going to be surly at times. It's going to be funny, but it's not going to be what we grew up with when it comes to sports films. I mean, I grew up with these films were made. I'm old, but I'm not as old as a movie like Pride of the Yankees, which was the story of Lou Gehrig. But that was the way those movies were done back then, and it was straight, man. It was played sentimentally, start to finish. There were no real rough edges even allowed, right? It just wasn't a part of it. Bad News Bears represents the rough edge motion picture, not only being allowed, but being allowed to flourish. Like, no, we're gonna have not just have one or two rough edges. We're gonna have an endless array of rough edges, and it opened up a lot of later movies that indeed went down that same road. But I think it actually started with Bad News Bears. I really do. Couple more texts. We've already got texts. I should mention, Louis is going to join us usual time at 5:30 this evening. In about a half hour, we'll check in with our favorite counterterror big knocker, Michael Hurley. There's a lot to get to with him. By now, most of you probably know I guess I got to narrow it down because pretty much every True Social comment from the president can be as over the top as the last one. But right now, we're allegedly on an Iran deadline, right? That
8 Eastern.
Is it 8 Eastern? So
Yep.
7 o'clock Central Time. And this was what the president sent out this morning. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen. It probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, that's his way of saying that, well, we said we changed the regime, and we did, even though really the regime in place now is acting no differently than the one that he apparently says he knocked out. Who knows? We'll find out tonight whether something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world, 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death, will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. So we're playing the usual game with the man in the White House. It's, well, does he mean it? Does he really mean it? Does he kind of mean it? Or in his world, remember, he grew up on TV as a TV host, blathering that a series of negotiations where it was, I'll say anything in order to get what I want. Might he mean it? By the way, among those who've noticed the most recent rhetoric, the Pope has indeed fired back at him. I wait. Has he ripped the Pope yet? Has he responded by ripping the Pope yet? It's a matter of time.
It is. I haven't seen it.
I don't know if I've seen it. So we'll have Hurley on at 4 to see how he is analyzing this, if the deadline's real, what it means, because there's also a comment from the president regarding what I think he described as heated negotiations going on with Iran right now. My prediction is that the deadline will be extended, or there will be something of an announcement having to do with some sort of agreement. But with this guy, it's very hard to know exactly what he means, and that's why we want people who've kind of had to deal, not necessarily with him, but with geopolitics and American history, world history, etc. And Michael Hurley has been very good in that regard, sort of translating. So he is scheduled for 4:02 today. Those are the only two scheduled guests that we have for the moment, although that could change. So, yeah, it's a 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern time deadline regarding the whatever deal is apparently going to have to be struck. Because remember that, was it 2 days ago? He said, remember it was the Strait of Hormuz. I don't even care about it. And the Strait of Hormuz, if other countries, European countries worry about it, they can take care of it. And, or it'll just open up naturally. Remember that? Which would seem to indicate he didn't really give a damn. Well, now, again, because he never repeats the same thing twice, it's apparently essential to this deal that the Strait of Hormuz has to be opened up, right? Has to be reopened.
Open the bleeping strait.
And open the yeah, that was
the
it.
Easter message.
Yes, that was the Easter. That was the Easter. There's no question about that for sure. So we'll have him on, like I said, at 4 o'clock and keep an eye on pretty much all of that. Let's get to bottom of the hour break. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is open and will always be open, I hope, at 64686, unless I have to reboot it as well. A lot of good texts are coming in on a number of subjects, and it'll be, as I said, a mix and match day between the toy department and the real world as well. A section, as we call it, on the program. We are back. A good correction from lawyer Tom regarding some of the details from the motion picture Bad News Bears. He writes that the bad guy, over the top manager, played by the late great Vic Morrow, Roy Turner, actually hits his kid on the mound, and he's right. I do remember that now. I mean, there was all sorts of browbeating throughout, but it was actual physical contact with his kid on the mound when he denied throwing at Engelbert. And it wasn't that he walked players intentionally. It was he fields a ball and just stays on the mound and holds it while people, Bad News Bears, keep advancing in the base runners, on the base paths, and he will not allow, he won't throw it to first, and he won't let any teammates take the ball from him. That was his form of bleep you, in this case to his own father, and that's what led to what was ultimately the miracle comeback. That even the miracle comeback has a twist, which I will leave to the imagination, just in case you might want to rent the film tonight. Or someplace, at a later date as well. So I'll leave that part of it open. Dad, I was playing parkboard baseball when that movie came out. We all loved it. You may remember that the actor who played Kelly, the ringer JD on the dirt bike, also appeared a few years later in another film you've expressed fondness for, Breaking Away, as one of the cutters. That is a good... Breaking Away, I would put under the classification of the most underrated sports movie of all time. If you classify a bicycle race movie as a sports movie, and in this case I would, even though there's a lot more to it. It's called Breaking Away, starring, among others, a very, very young, I believe Dennis Quaid was in that film as well. Chris writes, you really can't make it up as far as righties smugly lecturing liberals that we needed to grow up and vote for Trump because it would keep costs in line, lower gas prices, keep us out of foreign wars, etc., despite the mean tweets. It's like we're in a Twilight Zone episode. Kamani's son, who looks just like him, took over, and they have not missed a beat. Well, again, the difficult part, I think, regarding the approach that's been taken here is the degree to which, and I think he excuses it on the basis of, well, this is how I negotiate. But the degree to which every press conference that he does can sometimes be a literal 180 degrees different from what he had said previously. And so it's I'm left with the impression that he is literally making it up as he goes. I'll wake up and feel a certain way. The next day I might feel differently, and I'll go a different way. And the pathetic part is the people who defend him want to believe that he's in complete control of it, and he's not. He's making it up as he goes along. Now, might he blunder into some kind of a success in the end? I don't know. I don't even know how you define success at this point, but I don't think he has any control over any of it. Do you? I just don't. And we'll talk to Hurley about this at 4:02. So we'll see. I had Wild back in action tonight, correct?
Yes.
And then the big showdown game with the Stars is Thursday?
Yes, 8 o'clock in Dallas.
That could be for all the but in the meantime, we got to keep winning.
Yeah.
So we need to win against the Kraken. And have we played the same number of games as the Stars at this point, or does either team have a game in hand?
As of right now, we have both played 77 games.
So we're down to 5.
Yes.
And the Wolves are in action tonight against the Pacers.
Yes.
We have 4 games left?
Yes. Let me double check. No Anthony Edwards tonight.
He is out again. I forgot to mention that yesterday. You had passed that along to me, that Edwards is still out. And what does that tell you at this point? It tells you, I don't think the Wolves are playing it too cute. I think what it tells me is he's not ready to play. And even if now there might be something at stake here, that being making sure you don't somehow fall to 7, because mathematically it's unlikely, but still a possibility, as crazy as that sounds at this point. I think if he could play, they'd play him. They'd want to just, let's end this.
Let's end it. Yep.
But what it tells me is he's not ready to play. And that is, that's a very concerning aspect of this. I don't think they're being arrogant and cocky, like, we'll be fine. We'll just get to the postseason wherever we are.
Because they're reeling right now. They need him.
They are. They exactly.
They
right.
need him.
We
have 4 games left.
4 games left. That's what I thought.
Tonight, Orlando,
home, right?
Houston, all on the road.
On the road.
And then the Pelicans on Sunday.
The Garnett game. Is Garnett going to suit up?
Could he?
Game? I don't think that's legal, but it'd be a fun.
It would be nice.
It'd be a fun deal.
It would be cool.
Will Jiggly Boy be back for that one?
You wonder, don't you?
Yeah.
Because he made the last one.
That's when he tends to appear. But that was a long time. It feels like a different era, doesn't it?
It was 11 years ago, basically.
Right. That's very true. Lawyer Tom, same guy who had those important corrections. Taco, Trump always chickens out. He'll claim he'll get some concession, which won't be opening the strait in full, but probably something well short of it, claim victory, and then think he's solved this colossal mess. In this case, don't we all hope he does chicken out, though? That's the irony of this. Do we really want to go down the road that he's suggesting that to go down, to try to wipe out a country? In effect, not just the leadership of a country, but a country. I would not be in that category. Maybe there are people out there who say, "Well, once and for all, this is what we have to do." But I don't even know what high ground we have left. But if we have any high ground left, I think it would probably be lost at that point. Could the Wolves catch LA? Who's got the tiebreaker? No, we can't catch. I guess you could say now that the Lakers are reeling a little bit because they're down their 2 best scorers.
Yep, and LeBron's not going to play tonight.
He's not going to play tonight?
Yeah, he's not going to. They have 3 games in 4 days. He's not going to play tonight.
So give us their record and ours. The gap. Isn't the gap like 3 games?
Yes, they are 50. It's actually 4. They are 50 and 28.
So I don't even think
we can catch Houston.
Yeah,
they're 49 and 29.
I don't either at this point.
We're 3 games behind them.
Let's see what else. Yeah, I think that goes. That ship has sailed, and I think you're basically just wanting to be damn sure you don't find some absurd way to fall to 7. Right? That's what you're trying to avoid here. That would be that would be catastrophic as far as I'm concerned if you were somehow to fall to 7.
And we're still 3 games ahead of Phoenix.
Yes.
Magic number remains 2. We could clinch the 6th spot as early as tonight. Because Phoenix plays Houston, do they not? Is that who Phoenix plays?
Oh, is that right?
Yes, they have the Rockets tonight.
They're in Phoenix, I think.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
And they're 1.5 favorites, I think I saw earlier today.
Houston is on a hot streak now after having, struggled for a while, I believe.
They've won 6 in a row.
6 in a row. So, yeah, it could. I mean, you could argue it should end tonight in that the Wolves, if you can't beat the Pacers there, get out of, basically no one's going to feel sorry for it. But on the other hand, as we talked about yesterday, look at what the Pacers have done the last few games. Their record's dreadful. They want to lose, but whoever they put out there does tend to play. And they knocked off Miami not that long ago. I think they knocked off. There's two good teams they've beaten recently, or decent teams. And so I don't think you can assume anything about tonight. I really don't. Especially if
they routed the Heat.
There was the Heat, and there was one other victory within the last 2 weeks, I think.
Magic.
The Magic. And the Magic's not a great team, but they're not a horrible team.
Right.
Right? So, again, we know how fragile this particular group of players together have been. And by the way, so we don't even get updates on Jaden anymore, do we?
Not really, other than we think he's going to be ready for the playoffs.
So it sounds more and more like he's just not going to play the rest of the regular season.
Yeah,
in his case, right?
That's kind of how I read it.
Yeah, and his is a knee also.
Yes. Yeah,
a different knee injury or knee. I get with Anthony, it's more a condition than it is an actual injury. Correct?
I think so.
That is likened to the one that has kept Steph Curry out for 27 games. And then he came back with a bang, and they almost stole victory over Houston, right?
Yes. You know the sneaky, most damning thing that Johnny Athletic said yesterday?
What's that?
Regarding the game tonight?
Mm-hmm.
The teams that give the Wolves the most trouble are the teams that play hard. Like, it just rolled off his tongue.
That's it.
And that's, like, so damning, I feel like. And it's not anybody that's watched it. We all understand it. We all see it. But it still doesn't make any sense. Like, the team, look out. The teams that give the Wolves trouble are the ones that always play hard, that just show up no matter who they have and just play. I was in the building for the Obi Toppin game last year, the Pacers game, when he had 27 points and hit the game-winning three with like 0.0 seconds left, whatever it was. That's for as much as, I'm a Wolves guy and like watching the team and not completely done with them, that should stick with you. It definitely stuck with me. Well, just the teams that just show up and bring the lunch pail and are going to play, give us trouble.
And that's why, again, you can't take, especially if we miss some shots and we start dragging a little bit and you start seeing it on the faces of a couple of players and they know who they are. And suddenly again, the Naz Reid thing, I know he's a cult figure here. He's a hero. And when he's going, he's been obviously a terrific player. But I got to tell you, I don't like his body language at all right now. Now, he might not be healthy.
I don't think there's any chance he's healthy.
But his body language, for me, that's no excuse for the body language.
Agree.
And what we said yesterday, there's still other things that you can do. And he's not, he is a hindrance right now. He is not helping this team win. He is contributing to them losing at this point. And maybe that gets turned around if he hits two straight threes. I'm not sure. But there's other things I think that he needs to do. Meanwhile, your guy, my guy, Nikhil continues to just flourish.
Good. The Hawks are the team nobody wants to play in the Eastern Conference right now.
That's
the
true.
Hawks and the Hornets.
And the Hornets, yeah.
Those two sneaky teams.
Real quick, since we've got a little time, might as well do a little bit more of a basketball roundup as well. Michigan takes care of business. They win the national championship over UConn. It ends up being a more competitive game than at least some people had predicted. Although I think the spread was, 6.5?
6.5, and they won by 6, right?
I think that's right. That's it. I don't know what we take out of it. Like, I know probably if you're an Indiana fan, like Rick Bozich, you're devastated because you think, well, that guy should have been our coach because he belongs to the Indiana University pedigree, and the timing wasn't right, and so he goes to Michigan, and by the time we really want him, he says, I'm not leaving Michigan at this point because I'm too entrenched. But is there a larger message? Because I think, is it all 5 starters were transfers?
Yes. Believe that's true.
And I don't know. I mean, you can't have any more in your starting lineup than 5.
Right.
You can have as few as 4 if you're Fred Hoiberg's Nebraska Cornhuskers. You could have fewer.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people are wondering is, okay, is this just sort of ushering in the new age of Aquarius. I don't think necessarily so. I mean, we already know that transfers are a big part of it. So whether it's 3 on your team or 5, I guess maybe what it reinforces is that if you had romantic, sentimental tendencies about how you watched your college basketball and maybe even tried to invest over a period of years with players that, got better over that time at the same institution, all that sentiment has been erased. That's over. And the truth is, most coaches have to go along with it. No matter what they think of it, we're now in an era of you got to do what you got to do. But I do believe, and we talked about this with Richard Pitino late last week, that I don't know how you get to this place, but to me, if you care about the health of the game, not necessarily the greatest freedom for every player, but the health of the game, at some point, there have to be rules in place that do not allow you to literally change, if you want to, change institutions every year.
Yeah.
I believe the notion of you get one freebie where you can be eligible immediately. After that, you can do it again, but you will have to sit. I think that's the only way you discourage this a little bit or slow the revolution. And the other thing that's got to get cleaned up, and I don't even know how you begin to do it, you can't stay in college for 7 years anymore. We all know where it started. It was COVID-related, all that. But that has to be, I don't know, is it 5 years? It has
I like
to be
the 5 and 5.
Yes.
Give them 5 years of eligibility.
I'm with you.
And do 5.
And now, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how difficult the legal challenges are going to be, but by God, hire good lawyers then who will defend your position, because I think it's got to be a defensible position that we are going to have agreed upon rules in place that we believe are for the good of the game to create not the kind of stability. I know we're not going back to the old days. We can't. But some middle ground that I think will get us to a healthier place than we are now, because I just don't think the ratings are good and the basketball is good.
Yep.
But I don't think there's anything particularly healthy about the way we're doing it.
I do also wonder when the money is going to run out. That's what feels unsustainable for me.
Yeah, that's true too, yes.
Because I know that the power conferences are always going to have the media rights and the rev share money, but the money on top of it, the NIL money that collectives are doing now,
yes,
where they've been trying to get some guardrails on that. I still don't know how you figure that out. But I'm just fascinated by how much longer individuals and businesses are fine with, yeah, we'll give you a couple mil. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. I mean, Troy Aikman even said, he goes, I gave money to UCLA so they could keep a quarterback, and the guy left anyway. Like, I think at some point that has to burst.
I agree.
Now, the rev share money will still always be there,
yes,
so there will be a financial component about it. And I think, personally, the pushback on Michigan to me is funny, because all season people have gone, well, best team money can buy. Well, yeah, why wouldn't it be? Good for them.
Yeah,
good for them. And credit to the coach for finding the right guys
and the right mix
and paying for them, obviously. But that still is
put it together.
Exactly. That's still no guarantee. So it puts you in the ballpark, obviously, to get great players, which they did. But not every
that
single
ship has sailed. I mean, yeah, you're right.
But it's weird that people
are taking
even
it that
like
way.
the last couple of weeks. It's I mean, Michigan, they just bought their team. Well, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like I always say, it should feel like when Indiana won football. Mm-hmm. My thing, I just said this with Rosen earlier in the week. If I was an athletic director or a booster or a fundraiser, I would say all bets are off now. Now, Michigan had more pedigree, obviously, than Indiana. I think it's one of those jobs you have to screw up more than you have to make something. But everybody should feel the opportunity, if you're a college football program or any program, that you can go do this. But the Michigan bitterness is curious to me, because everybody's taking transfers. They just happen to take a lot of them, and they took the right ones. And
what's the proper number? 3? I mean, what's the difference? I mean, if you're in it, you're in it. So as
of an hour ago, there are 1,500 men's basketball players in the transfer portal that officially opened at midnight.
This is from Chopper. Bad News Bears, which was originally rated G, watched at my elementary school gymnasium over the summer, was bumped to a PG-13 rating upon the rating review process in the early 2000s. It jumped right over the old PG. That's from Chopper. That does sound very familiar to me. Let's get to the A topic from the A section with our good friend Michael Hurley, former CIA officer, worked on the 9/11 Commission as well as one of the chief attorneys there, has served the country in the Middle East as well. Always appreciate his authority and his analysis on days like these, which, of course, are very, very tense, involving the dire warnings offered up by the President of the United States. What do we make of them? What do we make of the deadline? And maybe even we can talk a little bit about that successful rescue mission as well. Michael Hurley, Edina's own, next here in the Fan.